Happy Thursday, Vancouver. It is November the 7th, and from the depths of deep space, this is Terminal City News. A 23-year-old man crashed his motorcycle on a highway near Esquimalt, kind of wrapping the motorcycle around a pole. But due to the protective gear he was wearing, was relatively unharmed, except for maybe a couple scratches and maybe a bruise or two. So figuring that he'd just go get his truck and get his wreck and bring it home, he went home, but his truck wouldn't start, so he did the next logical thing. He went to bed. Meanwhile, the police were combing the area looking for the man, as they believed he must have gotten up in some sort of bloody stupor and been staggering around, and so they spent over 2 hours looking for the dude. It was only when the gentleman woke up the next morning and thought, maybe I should probably go back to the scene of the accident that I was a part of and, make sure that I'm accounted for. Did he, in fact, go back and alert the police and say, hey, actually, I'm okay? Police are declining to lay charges against the man at this time, as apparently it is kind of hard to lay charges against someone for being oblivious. An Aldergrove farmer awoke in horror last week when he discovered that animal activists had broken onto his farm and had made off with over 500 of his mink. But the thing is, they didn't just kind of take the mink and take them to a safer area. No. They set the mink free. And those mink didn't really know what to do. They're not wild minks, they're domesticated animals. So naturally they didn't go very far. They went to kind of a neighboring farm and they kind of hid out there. Now, I kind of sympathize with the animal activists because these mink, all they're there for is to be skinned and turned into fancy schmancy coats and stuff. So, I get it. It sucks for the mink. Anyone who loves animals is going to say, why on earth are we having a farm like this just for people's vanities? I get it. But you're a little misguided if you think that the solution is just to set them free, an animal that doesn't normally live. Now, I know there's members of the weasel family that live here in BC, but these domesticated mink, are not native to this area. They just intrude into the ecosystem. They have no way of feeding themselves. They don't know what to do. They're used to being hand-fed their whole bloody lives. So what do? They make to the nearest farm. And another farmer woke up in horror one morning when he discovered that 90 of his baby ducks had been murdered by the mink. The mink didn't eat them. This isn't the circle of life because the mink were well fed. No, the mink were just seized with the uncontrollable urge to slaughter the baby ducks. And it looks a little something like this. So it finally happened, kind of. BC Premier Christy Clark and Alberta Premier Alison Redford, who some people are affectionately calling Frick and Frack, because sister is Frick and Frack. Actually, I like that. I'll call them that from this point on. So Frick and Frack finally reached an agreement as to putting that horrible Enbridge pipeline from the Alberta tar sands all the way to Kitimat, BC, all through the northern stretch of this lovely province. They finally agreed to this nice little deal here. Christy Clark had gone to Redford and she said, look, I'm not going to let this happen unless there's 5 conditions that need to be met, and you got to meet them all. And I think those conditions are money, and money. In one way or another. I know some of you are saying, oh, wait, Steve, that's not 100% true. Well, look, it boils down to the money. Because naturally, this province, all we care about is the economic implications, and we don't really care about the environmental, allegedly. That's apparently what the BC Liberal agenda is that as long as it's really good for the economy and we have some kind of safety net, we should push forward. Well, protesters in Vancouver earlier this week, they had a different idea. They went to Christy Clark's residence in Vancouver? I thought she lived in Kelowna now. Where do you live, Christy? Where do you really live? Anyways, they went to her property here in Vancouver, and they set up a giant fracking sort of prop. And they dressed up in the construction gear, and they were lifting up the fracking oil rig thing, and they're like, you know what? This is what it looks like. It's not pretty. We're putting it in your front yard. Do you like it in your front yard? Well, guess what? We don't like it in our backyard. We don't like it up, this whole pipeline and the fracking it. We don't want it. That was basically the gist of what they were saying. Police showed up and they said, technically this is private property. Peaceful demonstration, creative one, that's fine. Not on the private property. So The protesters took it to the street. Apparently, it went really, really well. There was no signs of life in the Clark household, which is funny because, like, the newspaper said, the province in particular, they said they didn't think anyone was home. But I like to imagine that the whole family was there, and they were pretending they weren't home because, A, I think they're supposed to be in Kelowna, because that's your constituents now, right? Clark, you're supposed to be Kelowna or whatever. Anyways, and they're all, like, hiding under blankets, and they've got, like, blankets over their heads, and they're like, shh. If we're quiet, they'll go away. Like the protesters are Jehovah's Witnesses or something. Where the hell was I going with that? Well, needless to say, so now that those conditions are met, a lot of people are wondering, can we stop this Enbridge pipeline? And I have an alternate suggestion. Instead of stopping the Enbridge pipeline, why don't we just give it to Kinder Morgan and have Kinder Morgan run that whole pipeline? Because Kinder Morgan has already proven that not only can they balance delicious milk chocolate and fun buildable toys for children of all ages, but to be able to transport that safely in a pipeline, this lovely flow of chocolate, is an amazing accomplishment. Let's not downplay it. Let's not downplay it at all. Because I love chocolate. Just this past Tuesday, Surrey residents around 152nd, I think it was, they woke up with a start and they saw what they thought at first were turkeys crossing their street. No joke. They thought they were turkeys crossing the street, probably escaped from some farm. But what they actually were was a muster of peacocks. And once again, Vancouver Sun in particular was very keen on saying muster over and over again because they just learned a new word and they want to share it with us. So this muster of peacocks, or if you want a flock, whatever, were just traipsing up and down the street. No one knows where they came from. Was it from a nearby farm? Not really. Apparently, occasionally, we have peacocks that go through this province. Again, these are not native birds, and nor should they be confused as such, but there have been a couple musters. Forget it. There have been a couple flocks of peacocks that have been going around and loose in the province. This one is thought to be the one that was living in Stanley Park for a really, really long time that went up and missing a few years ago. How they got to Stanley Park, to the depths of Surrey without anyone noticing, I have absolutely no idea. But needless to say, these peacocks are going around. There's actual footage of it up on YouTube if you want to go check it out. They're just wandering down the streets, probably looking for worms or whatever the hell birds do. I don't know, mates or something. And yeah, it's really quite interesting. Unfortunately, because they were in Surrey, they were promptly mugged, hopped onto some motorbikes, and were involved in several fatal motorcycle accidents. A Texas family is calling foul and playing a restraining order against the Blanchetts, another family who live up here in Richmond. It seems that the Blanchetts and the Hannahs, they were really chummy, they were spending holidays with each other and all that stuff. And then one day the Blanchetts, in particular the son Joel Blanchett, he goes to the Hannahs and he says, "Hey, look, I'm going to go to this high-stakes poker game in Vegas, and I wanna kind of trick all the people there into thinking that I'm really, really rich like them. So can I borrow $8.5 million to kind of just to show them I'm not going to use it. It's just going to be sitting in a bank account. Everybody's going to see it, but nobody's going to touch it. I just want to kind of show it off, and then you can have it right back. And then, okay, we all know what happens next. Okay, before I say it, how about you the viewer, say, when I say go, say out loud what you think happened to the money. Go. And if you just said that he spent it and blew it and lost it, you are 100% correct, because that is exactly what happened. I guess it kind of led in there. But anyways, needless to say, the Hannahs, they placed a restraining order. They said they haven't gotten a single cent. The Blanchetts are kind of shocked. They're like, wait, why are you being like this? You knew this would happen. That's right. The Blanchetts aren't denying any of these accusations. They're just saying, why are you surprised, to the Hannahs? And you know what? I'm going to be honest. I sympathize with the Blanchetts, because until you've been in a high stakes poker game, you cannot judge the difficult decisions that need to be made.
Thought I had that one in the bag. The Bonnet gang's been giving folks trouble again. Crossing.
This ain't right.
And that's it for this week, Vancouver. I want to give special shout-outs to staff member Daniel Ferguson. Today is his birthday. If you know him, go to his wall, wish him a happy 20th. because 20 is an okay age here in Canada. You Americans down there, you're like, 20 sucks, 21 rules, 20 is awesome up here. So go over, wish Daniel a happy birthday, or if you want, send us an email. You can contact us through the website. Just say happy birthday to the guy, because why not? Also want to say happy birthday to my wife, who turned 27 a couple days ago. Yes, that's because I always think of her as early 20s, because early 20s are awesome. Happy birthday to both of you. November babies are awesome because that means you were probably conceived around Valentine's Day, and Valentine's Day is awesome. But apart from that, I think that's about it. Vancouver, again, thank you for watching. See you next week. Don't hate me because I'm beautiful.